Summer is the perfect time to try out travel art supplies. You can draw on the go, you can draw outside, and Woomer was kind enough to send me their 9-color mini travel watercolor palette. This is not sponsored, so everything I say will be an honest review of this product. I was pretty excited when I heard about this little watercolor set because I am someone who travels a lot. I am from Norway, but I am studying in the UK, and I travel a lot regardless because that's also where my partner lives, but my family and my friends are all in Norway. I travel a lot back and forth, and even when I'm in the UK, I travel a lot between uni and my partner's place, and basically, I feel like I'm just always on the go. So I was really excited to try this little travel watercolor palette. It's small and compact, and it's just easily portable. I can just put it in my pocket and take it anywhere. I can go out to a cafe and just paint a little. I can go out to a park. I actually did that. I did bring this with me to a park and tried it out there as well. And even if I'm not necessarily traveling, it's nice to also just put it in your pocket and you just step outside your house and you just sit outside and just draw for a bit. And yeah, so I was really excited to try out this product. Woomer is an art supplies brand based in China. They focus on providing high quality and affordable art materials. They do colored pencils, acrylic markers, watercolors, etc. That's obviously a good thing because art supplies is very expensive. And I, like most artists, want to be able to afford art supplies. And I'd like to have a variety of different things without having to pay an extortionate amount of money, especially for products or for materials that I'm not very familiar with. I don't have a lot of experience with watercolors, so I don't really want to be paying tons of money for a big watercolor set and then just end up not liking watercolors, and then having it be a waste of a lot of money. So my initial thoughts was that this is obviously very travel friendly. I am impressed by how small this is, but without it being too small. Like the pans were they were easy to use, and it's not, the product itself isn't so small that I feel like I'm not getting my money's worth or anything. As I said, I did bring this to a park, and I've traveled with it across countries, and it is nice that it doesn't take up a lot of space, and it's easy to just kind of fold out the mixing palettes and stuff. So yeah, you fold out these little mixing palettes and you end up with these 5 mixing spaces. And it even comes with its own little color swatch paper, which I thought was pretty cool, so I didn't have to make my own little swatch, and it fits just in the little watercolor case as well, which is really handy. I've always been very intimidated by watercolors. I've always preferred gouache or acrylic paint, and even when it comes to watercolor supplies, I've always preferred watercolor pencils or markers over actual paint because I find the paint itself very hard to work with. I'm pretty sure I've discussed this 1,000 times before if you've seen any of my other painting videos. And with my old watercolor set, I found that the colors weren't very bright, or they weren't very vibrant or opaque. So to me, watercolors were always they always seemed very dull and watered down, which, I mean, can be cool, but that's not the kind of art that I like. I like very colorful and vibrant art. So that's why I've always kind of been turned away from watercolors. But the paint itself actually really surprised me. It's way more vibrant than I would have thought. So I don't know if my old watercolor set was maybe just really poor quality or something, but I am impressed at how much actual pigment there is in these paints. They mixed easily and well, and it felt like high quality watercolors. I managed to get smooth and even washes. It blended well. The colors themselves were nice. Yeah, I was pretty impressed. So you can find the link to the product at Woomer's website down in my description. You can use the code NEW01S for 10% off. I also have the link to the product at Amazon, and the code there is SSNEW09W, and you can get 10% off there as well. And yeah, time for these paintings. So when I first got these paints, I made 2 very quick paintings. They were low effort and brushed, but it was more just to get used to the paints because, like I've said before, watercolors are intimidating to me and I don't have a lot of experience with them, so I just wanted to get used to it a little bit. So I made 2 bigger paintings, which should be what you're looking at now. I made one side with the warm colors and one side with cold colors to try all the colors in this palette. There are 2 little water/sky paintings, which is kind of my go-to with paintings, whether it's watercolor, gouache, or acrylics, just because it's kind of my safe area. And then yeah, I made some little fun abstract shapes / textures to make it a little bit more interesting. added some black silhouettes, again, to make it more visually interesting, and added some details with a white Posca pen. I still wasn't fully happy with my paintings. Like, I just felt like I said, this was my go-to. This was kind of my safe area. I didn't really step out of my comfort zone at all, despite this being made with watercolors. So I decided to lock in and step outside my comfort zone, and I made even more paintings. So for my next painting, I started thinking, what do typical watercolor artists normally paint? And the first thing I thought of was like flowers or plants, or just very florally stuff. I feel like I always see watercolor artists make stuff like that. I think it just works well with the softer colors and like the effects that you get with the water and the watercolors. I just think it works well. Again, I have no experience with this because I've never been a watercolor artist, and I actually don't think I've ever really drawn plants before either. So this was definitely out of my comfort zone. I decided to make a tomato plant with that whole little watercolor aesthetic. So I went to Pinterest, I found a reference, here it is on screen. I cannot find the original artist. I have scoured Pinterest, Google, and Instagram. I can't find the artist. So if anyone knows, please let me know. I have tried to look. So I thought I would use an art reference rather than a real reference for this painting, because I want to kind of study the technique of watercolor more than it being a study of like the actual tomato. I'm not going for realism here. I am going for the like typical watercolor style, which is why I used like an art reference. And it was definitely a trust the process kind of deal here. I wanted to give up throughout the majority of this painting, but I am very glad that I didn't. So it came out kind of messy and imperfect, which I was kind of struggling to like accept, because the reason why watercolors have always scared me so much is because I feel like you have such little control. Like, I feel like the water will kind of just do what it wants. I don't know, I like digital art and like Copic markers and stuff like that, just because I feel like I have control of these art supplies, you know? With watercolors, I don't really feel like I'm in control much at all. But yeah, so it's kind of, it was giving very messy and imperfect for a long time, and I had to learn to lean into it instead of looking at it as imperfect. Yeah, I just let the water, or I had to learn to let the water allow the paints to behave more unpredictably, which I feel like is kind of the appeal or the beauty of watercolors. So I just had to learn to be comfortable with that. Then I went in with a smaller brush for rendering. My phone did also run out of storage and stopped recording at this point, which breaks my heart because I feel like the rendering was the longest and the most interesting part. But I am making another painting after this, so you will get to see the rendering process for that one. I do apologize. So after the rendering, I went in with some black pen outlines. And I debated that heavily for a long time, whether or not to go in with outlines, because normally I'm not anti-outlines, but I'm more soft outlines. Like for my portraits and stuff, whenever I do make like marker art and stuff like that, I always used to use like sepia or brown or just softer line art, because I just don't like the look of black harsh lines. I think it just pulls away from all the coloring and the shading and rendering that I've done. And I just don't think it looks good with my art. I was very hesitant to do this, but I'm so glad I did, because I feel like the kind of like messy black outlines really pulled the piece together. The moment I went in with the black outlines, I was like, this is it. It was like a eureka moment for me, because I was so on the fence about this painting for all the way up until that point. Like I wasn't happy with it, and I was like, oh my god, this is a huge mistake. What am I doing? The moment I went in with those outlines, I was like, that's it. That's what this is missing. So yeah, I am glad I decided to do that. And then at the very end, I used a white Posca pen for the highlights, and then I used some white and yellow paint pen splatters to kind of like just make the drawing seem more painterly and messy. And yeah, I was actually really happy with the outcome, which I was not expecting. And I think the process was really fun as well. So it was fun to make, and I liked the outcome. And I feel like those two things rarely go hand in hand. And yeah, I really enjoyed the process. I've always been anti-watercolor, but no more, apparently. I'm actually really excited to keep using these, especially now that it's summer and I'm home in Norway. Hopefully the weather will be nice. It rarely is, but this week it looks like it's going to be nice, so I wouldn't mind bringing my sketchbook outside and just painting when the weather's nice. And yeah, I do love how practical and portable it is. Again, I am an international student. I do a lot of traveling. It's just perfect. It's just perfect for the summer as well. It's perfect for painting outside or on the go. So So yeah, again, you can find the links to the official store and for the Amazon product down below with the 10% off code. And thank you to Woomer for allowing me to try out this product. To more personal stuff, I'd like to talk about where I've been, because I kind of just disappeared for 2 months. I haven't posted since the end of April. That was when I was back home in Norway after my school year ended, or my university year. And I went back to the UK, I guess like early May, because I had to clear out my uni desk, I had to grab my things from my apartment, I had a Chase Atlantic concert early May, which is really fun. And then I went to my partner's place in the UK because we had a 3-week trip to Orlando with his family. So the entirety of May, I was in the US, so obviously I wasn't going to be making art, I wasn't going to be posting stuff. And then when we came back early June, I went back to London for work and to see friends one last time. My partner had some commitments and like just things to do before we could leave again, and then he came with me to Norway end of June, stayed for 2 weeks, and I am now recording this after he's left, and I will now be home for the rest of summer, so I can get back to consistent posts and lots of art and just social media work. So I am now officially going back to weekly Sunday videos and YouTube shorts every Wednesday and Friday. I'm also posting on TikTok every Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, so go follow me at Fangirl there as well. And I will be using Instagram for Instagram stories for like work in progress, behind the scenes, just different stuff like that. You can find me at Fangirl there as well. I've had content like ready, but I didn't want to start posting again until I knew I could do it consistently, and I didn't want to do that until I was like finished with all my personal stuff. So now for the rest, or for at least the next 2 months, there's like, I've got nothing planned. It's just art, social media, just work. So I can be consistent now. I can stick to a schedule. So that's why this is coming out now. I do have some art goals for the summer. The biggest one is to finish this damn sketchbook. I tried to do it last summer. Didn't do very well, obviously, because this was the sketchbook I was given at my first year of university. I just finished my second year, and if my tutor knew that I was still working on my first sketchbook, she'd probably kill me. So I am definitely finishing the sketchbook this summer. I only have a few pages left, so I will get through it no matter what. And I've also bought my next sketchbook as like motivation to get through this one, because starting a new sketchbook is always fun. And I want to paint on the cover while I'm here as well. I like painting on my sketchbook covers because it makes them more personal, and every time I whip out my sketchbook, there's just a little painted cover on it. I would like to make a video where I draw, where I kind of like draw my vacation. I've never been to Orlando before. I haven't been on a vacation in ages. The only vacations I've been on are the ones that like I've been to with my partner and his family. Yeah, we went to Disney World and Universal Studios and even the new Epic theme park and all that. So I just have a lot of stuff I'd like to like just draw around that, whether it's like merchandise I bought or pictures I've taken, or just, you know, food I ate there. I just think it'd be a fun little video, especially for the summer, because that was my little summer vacation. I do want to make more paintings over the summer, whether it's acrylic, gouache, watercolor, whatever. Especially acrylic, because I'd like to actually paint on a canvas. I want an actual canvas painting done. And other than that, I just want to experiment, draw new things, use new materials, just step out of my comfort zone, feel fresh and rejuvenated for my third and final year of my bachelor degree in illustration. Finally, I'd like to talk about the media that I've consumed since I've been gone. First of all, with books, I haven't actually read much, but obviously I'm back home for the summer now, and the weather is looking a little bit nicer now, which is when I'll do most of my reading anyway. But I did finish Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. That was a cute little book. And I did also finish The Blade Itself, which is this little trilogy. I think the trilogy is called The First Law, but I will double check. Then so now I'm working on the second book in the trilogy, which is Before They Are Hanged. And those are the only books I've read so far. With movies or shows, I saw Wicked while I was on the plane to Orlando, which was my first time seeing that. I did go to the movie theaters with my partner to see the Lilo and Stitch live action, which was good, but I do have a few complaints. Lilo was like weird kid representation, but I don't feel like she was very weird in the movie. I feel like they tried to make her weird, but it didn't come from people who were real weird kids, if that makes sense. I don't know. That pissed me off, which might be such a tiny thing to complain about, and I don't feel like I don't think I've heard other people complain about that. Like, people have complained about other things with this movie. I haven't heard that complaint before, though, but Like, I don't know, she was just really weird in the movie, or like in the original movie, which I loved. I feel like she was just a normal kid in the live action. I don't know, she should have been weird. Other than that, I watched season 2 of Solo Leveling, so I'm all caught up now. I watched it with my partner, and then we also watched Frieren. So I finally consumed a new anime, which is a miracle for me because I don't really watch things. I only watch things if I watch them with people. I don't really watch things on my own. And I am also watching season 3 of Squid Game with my family, and I've seen 2 episodes so far, and it's not going very well. I have some complaints there as well. But anyway, for games, I did start playing Sonic Frontiers when I was back home around Easter. I never finished it though, so I'm gonna have to keep playing that. I played Spiritfarer with my boyfriend. So the rest of the games on this list, they're kind of like just cozy games because those are my favorite type of games. Spiritfarer, I came quite far, but I don't think I finished it, so I'll have to pick that up as well. I did play and finish Potion Permit, again with my partner. And I've been playing Infinity Nikki. I did start playing Slime Rancher, and I also started and finished Moonstone Island, again with my partner. So yeah, bunch of cozy games. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know I kind of cram-packed it with a lot of stuff and a lot of footage. I hope that's not a problem. I enjoy watching longer art videos on YouTube, so I'm just gonna let this one be a little bit longer. I like having them just play in the background, like while I eat and clean and do stuff. That's just what I like. So hopefully other people enjoy that as well. Just throw in a longer video in there. You could just have me playing in the background. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you guys like the drawings, and I'll see you guys next Sunday.